Our congressional correspondent Brianna Keilar standing by where the big unveiling is set to happen just a half an hour from now. Brianna, do we expect to understand all of the detail that will be laid out, or will we just hear sort of bits and pieces from this plan?
No, we are expected to get the actual bill, Heidi, but that said, it should be coming out shortly. It's not out yet. It's hundreds of pages, no doubt, and we do generally know the outline of it. But first, let me just tell you what's going to happen today. This is the unveiling of the House bill for health care reform. They're doing this ahead of the Senate. This is a very significant step. Right now, all Democrats in the House are in a meeting not far from here. And what they're going to do is they're going to come down these stairs here, the west front of the Capitol, for this event that, as you can see, people are milling about behind me. But this is really the grandest place to have a photo opportunity. This is, for instance, where President Obama was inaugurated. And so this is really quite a spectacle that House Democrats are having today as they push their bill out there. So what's in it? Well, it does have that public option as we expected, but it's not the most liberal form of the public option. In order to get some moderate Democrats on board, Heidi, Speaker Pelosi, had to go with a more moderate version. Also, it includes individual and employer mandates. That means individual people are required to get insurance and employers are required to contribute to the health care costs of their employees. Also, there is a tax on the wealthiest Americans who make, as individuals, $500 million, or as a couple, $1 million, $500,000 as a couple, $1 million. That's how this would be paid for. And we do understand the price tag is under $900 billion, but we are waiting for those exact numbers, which are expected to be out. Also, bottom line, Heidi, under this plan, as all the others, health insurance companies could not deny coverage to people on the basis of pre-existing conditions, Heidi.
Okay, so yeah, those are some great points, or at least bullet points for what this bill is going to be about. But if it doesn't have any Republican support, because we're not expecting any, what happens then?
It's not expected to have Republican support, and quite frankly, Democrats don't need it to pass this health care bill. But I think what's also really interesting is we're expecting some Democrats to fall off, some moderate Democrats who will have problems, even with this sort of watered-down version of the public option. I spoke with one moderate Democrat yesterday who said he's probably still going to come to this event, but he really wants to read the bill, and he's not sure if he's going to support it. So that just goes to show you some of the folks showing up, some of the lawmakers showing up here today, may not be sure that they're even going to support this bill that is being touted in this large spectacle of a press conference.
All right, and we know that you'll be talking with all of them. Brianna Keilar, sure do appreciate it. We'll check back a little bit later on. Thanks.
Congressional correspondent Brianna Keilar live from Capitol Hill. And Brianna, obviously it's taken a long time to get here, but does the speaker believe she has a bill that she can get passed?
Yeah, we've actually spoken with some Democratic leaders in the House, Tony, and they seem to think that they do. Now, they're still going to continue some of that cajoling and arm twisting that they've already been doing to make sure they have those votes, but obviously they feel like they're going to have them. We could be seeing a vote as soon as the end of next week. So there is still several days where they can do that arm twisting. But this does include a public option, that government-run insurance plan, but it is, as you mentioned, a less liberal form of this. This definitely could have been more liberal, but House Speaker Nancy Pelosi just found that as she polled all of her Democrats, she couldn't get the votes. There are moderate Democrats who insisted on not having that most liberal form of a public option, so it got moved. Let's take a look at some of the numbers here. This does fall, the price tag on this bill, under that $900 billion cutoff mark that President Obama said it would have to fit under. The price tag here, $894 billion. And also, it cuts the deficit. This is such a big sum of money that we're talking about, albeit over 10 years. One of the big concerns has been, how do you basically afford it without just adding money to the deficit and really putting the country more in debt? Well, this is a deficit neutral bill. It would actually cut from the deficit $30 billion over 10 years. We're still waiting to see exactly what happens after that 10 years. And then one of the other big issues about healthcare, Tony, is just when you look at how the costs of healthcare just skyrocket so much more than inflation, and ultimately, that comes out of our paychecks. One of the big big things, one of the big efforts in reform has been to try to cut that skyrocketing growth rate of health care, and Democrats say that the numbers will show that Medicare costs are going to be reduced over the long term here because of this. But as I said, this is moving along quickly in the House. It seems a vote as early as the end of next week.
Hey, Brianna, we were waiting to try to get to House Minority Leader Boehner's comments. I'm just wondering, has there been any... Well, okay, there we go. Live pictures now. At least I hope so. What's been the Republican reaction so far?
They've been really lambasting this, Tony. They are not on board with this bill. They do not like this bill, and they're really hitting Democrats very hard right now for what they say is no transparency operating behind closed doors. Just take a listen to what the conference chairman, Mike Pence, said a short time ago.
This is just another version now lurching out of the back rooms after weeks of closed-door negotiations. It just looks like, another freight train of big government with more taxes, more mandates, and more spending, and that's not what the American people want in health care reform.
Now, Democrats are definitely feeling this criticism and really trying to push back on it. They say this is not the case at all. They say that those three committees that put out their bills that essentially were merged into this one bill, they say those bills were online for months for people to read. And they also say that this bill, which is now online right as we speak, Tony, this is something that just happened, that it's online for people to take a look at, and it's going to be online as it goes through the whole process before the vote if any changes are to be made.
Okay, our congressional correspondent Brianna Keilar for us. Brianna, thank you.